think it's an interesting subject for me because I liked puppets before I knew they were puppets. So when I think back to some of my early memories of watching puppets on TV, I didn't consciously think of them as puppets. I just saw them as characters interacting in the real world. And I think the appeal was, it was a bit like a real cartoon. You know, the idea of these characters existing in the real world, being able to interact and talk and be touched, and I think just seeing them in real situations was really appealing. It was magic. So I think a bit about watching things like Punch and Judy on the beach, or watching blacklight puppetry, you know, at the holiday camps and that sort of thing. But I think it was television, I would say, is the main influence. I think in that era where I was born, it was very Muppet Show, kind of heavy. I remember my first birthday cake having Kermit the Frog on it. So I think that played a big role in being exposed in the early 80s to kind of Muppet mania. I also think British TV shows, you know, I remember being really a big fan of Cosmo and Dibs, Me and You, You and Me. I really liked Sooty, especially Sweep. You know, Sooty Show, Rainbow, I think was a big influence. Those sort of regular British puppetry shows that seem to always be on the TV. I think it has to be the ones who do live, sleep, eat and breathe puppetry. Because there are, I think, puppeteers in the industry who will do a puppet job, then in between puppet jobs just do other things, whether it's acting or singing and stuff. And they almost become a kind of occasional puppeteers. The ones I admire, I think, are the ones who just live, sleep, eat and breathe it, who are permanently in that puppetry world. Phil Fletcher's a good example of somebody who is constantly working with puppets, whether he's making new puppets, he's creating puppet videos or content. It's not just about the job, you know. And whenever I see kind of younger puppeteers, I think, doing kind of their own stuff on social media and stuff, and just doing it for the love of it, for the passion of it. You know, they do puppetry whether they get paid or not. I think that they're the real heroes and the champions of puppetry. I also admire massively Ronnie LaDrew, I think, who's an incredibly talented puppeteer because he's able to mix multiple styles. You know, he's just as comfortable with a glove and a hand puppet as he is doing a marionette as such. And I think students of multiple forms of puppetry are really impressive. It can do, it depends how long it takes to film. I think when I do really long videos, if I'm working on a piece for a long time, then I can tend to get armache. It ultimately depends on the puppet though. If the puppet's quite stiff, or heavy, it can hurt more. If it's quite light and soft, it's a bit easier. Generally though, I don't feel the armache. I tend to feel it more here in the hand because of that kind of working of movement. So that's more where I feel the strain. But again, it's to do with length of time in filming and how heavy and stiff is the puppet I'm using. And also how animated the puppetry character is. If it's a real high energy performance, it tends to hurt my arm more. Out of my characters, I really enjoy working with Lucky the Rat, because I think he always looks great in camera, and it makes my life a bit easier, because whatever he does looks really good. I enjoy Clarence because he's at that point where he's starting to get a bit worn out, but that's kind of the easiest point to perform, and I'm really comfortable performing in him. I can ad-lib in and stay in character with Clarence, which I really like. And I also enjoy Judo, performing him, just because it's really fun to play with that grumpy character, and to be grumpy, and yeah, everything annoys him, which is really fun to perform. It's probably the first one, the Muppet movie, and I think of that because of the humour. I really like that kind of abstract, absurd, stupid, silly humour. It feels very British, real kind of British comedy. In that one, it's less sentimental and overly scripted, I guess, as the films go on. There's something about the absurdity of some of the jokes and the silliness which I really like, and again, it reminds me of British humour. I think the best piece of puppetry advice that I've ever been given, and I've been given multiple times by different people, is just to keep doing it, just to create and continuously keep creating work, and keep posting it and sharing it, because eventually somebody will notice. Eventually, you know, you will get somewhere. So I think perseverance, hard work, you know, make sure you're the hardest working person you know. I think it starts with the puppet. So I think to begin with, you need to hold and look at the puppet and get a sense of what is the character that, you know, the puppet kind of gives off. Then I think it's a case of playing around, doing a bit of improv with the puppet, which is the same way you'd create a puppet voice, just by playing around and get a sense of the character. Then I think once you've got that, it's a case of sitting down with a pen and paper and just really filling that out and giving the context and the background to the character. It's probably the freedom to create. I think there's something lovely with puppetry that you can play multiple characters and you can kind of tell any story you want, especially with kind of green screen and using the camera. You can create your own visions, you know, anything you can dream, you pretty much create with puppetry. So I think I love that freedom, you know, that expression of being able to tell stories. When working professional jobs, I think I'd really like being able to just be somebody else, play a character, you know, and puppetry is one of those things to me that's most enjoyable and impressive when I watch it back afterwards, especially when there's that disassociation, you know, when some time's passed. I think being able to watch your own work when time has passed and you don't remember doing it, I think then you can really enjoy it. Can be stressful, can be intense coming up with ideas, but ultimately, again, it's about freedom, and there's something fun about creating something from nothing. You know, and each week challenging myself creatively. You know, I think of it a bit like a musician writing a song every week, except these videos are nowhere as good as songs. But it's that same idea of starting with a fresh idea and picking a character, picking a puppet, or two puppets, or three or four sometimes, and just telling a story. I think it's really creatively challenging, which is good, and it gives me that freedom that I don't have when I'm doing professional puppetry jobs. I can just do anything, and I like it. I like being able to every week release something new. Yeah, share insight into what's going on in my mind that week. It's probably not the professional puppetry jobs, or, you know, kind of working with famous people. It's probably things that I've done myself with nobody else's input. You know, so I think of the awards I've won for 48-hour puppet films, that sort of thing, where I've done it all by myself. You know, from the original idea to the writing, to the filming, to the editing. So I think that makes me feel proud when people enjoy my work, and it's all from me, I guess. I think whenever videos do well online, you know, and again, I know you shouldn't be the vanity metrics. You shouldn't judge your success based on what other people think. But when Facebook videos had 100,000 views and things like that, I think it's really nice to know my work's got out there and people have seen it. I think a bit of both is the honest truth. I think there's something lovely about the professional jobs when I can just turn up last minute, have a director tell me what to do whatever I need to do, and just go. I think there's a lovely thing about turning your brain off and just being in the moment and just doing the puppetry, which I think is really nice. What I don't like about doing the professional jobs, though, is losing the control of the project. You know, there's always that fear when you're doing a professional job of, what if the take's not very good? What if they use the bad take? You know, what if they use the one where I messed up? You know, or you watch it back, you know, when it's produced, I think I could have done that better. Whereas I think when I create my own stuff, I've got that control, and I think that's insight into my psyche, that I've got this obsessive controlling element. But when I'm creating myself, I can go back and reshoot, or I can re-edit, I can pick the best takes. So I think I like the control of that. But I think I do enjoy, the professional jobs when I can just turn up and focus on the puppetry and not worry about the editing or the camera angles and that sort of stuff. Yeah, there's something really nice about just being in the moment and enjoying doing the puppetry. I guess as long as it's fun and people keep watching them, I guess, and people keep enjoying them, I never set a goal, you know, to make videos. I think there's about 200 now I've done of the puppet skits, and before that about 100 of the puppet songs, you know, which I release weekly. So there's already been about 4 years worth of content. I think just to keep making while it's fun, and it gives me that creative outlet, and probably why I have the time. But yeah, I think I really enjoy the creative challenge of every week. What can I put out? You know, what can I say? What funny ideas do I have? So it's fun. I think that's it. I think to keep making while it's fun, and I can continue to express myself and tell my stories. You done?